Hello everyone. Hello. So this is day 2. Welcome. I'm glad to have you with us. So if you missed yesterday's video, if you didn't see what we were doing and you don't know much about me, I'm Kelly from spiritualawakeningsigns.com, and I help people to move through their spiritual awakening as easily as possible. And I always say that with a little laugh, because it's definitely not that easy, but I hope that I can make that process much easier for you because I've been through it myself. And this 3-day live event that we're doing is basically simple, structured, step-by-step actions and things that you can do to make your awakening a bit more manageable and a bit easier and get rid of some of those difficult symptoms that we're dealing with. So that's the process that we're moving through today. If you missed yesterday's, there are links all over Facebook, and I'll put a link in the comments box so that you know you can tune in to yesterday's video. And it's really important that you get a grasp of every single part of this so that you can understand what's going on as we move forward. And today's class is all about grounding techniques that actually work and which grounding techniques can actually make the process worse, because people don't realise, and I don't know why it's not more widely known. I certainly learned the hard way, but there are certain things that you can do as part of your awakening and that are usually traditional standard advice as part of spiritual awakening, which make it worse, make it much harder for us. So by the end of today's class, you're going to have an understanding that not a lot of people actually have until years later after the awakening, when they've had a chance to reflect on everything that's happened. It's kind of something that comes a little bit later on, but you'll have that by the end of today. You're going to know what to do. You're going to definitely know what not to do, because sometimes those things can create more problems than the what to do. And it's really the first step in you gaining some control and some understanding over this experience and being able to move it into that space where it really is a transformative experience. It's something really sacred and really special, and sometimes it's hard to see the wood for the trees when we're working through the hard parts. So I'm going to help you with that. And like I say, I learned these things the hard way, the really hard way. So I shared a bit about my experience yesterday, but I'll go into a little bit more depth today. So when I went through my spiritual awakening, I went through what's called spiritual emergence. So that's when a spiritual awakening hits a bit of a crisis point, okay? It's as extreme as you can possibly go. Now, like I always say, there's purpose in these things, and there was a reason. So at the time, you know, I felt really unhappy. I thought the universe was against me, and I thought that spirit were just trying to make the road really hard for me. But it actually gave me the information and the experience that I needed to understand this experience at its absolute extreme, so that I know what works and definitely what doesn't work. So it's really equipped me with an understanding of how to work with you guys and assist you, because you're in an extremely sensitive, vulnerable state at the moment, and I know how that feels. So please know that you're not alone. You're definitely not the only one going through this. There are hundreds of thousands of us, so many of us all over the world going through this, and you're really not alone. And I hope that our group will prove that to you as we move forward. So yeah, I'm going to share a bit more about my experience so that you can understand the depth and how I learned what I know, and how I know what I'm sharing today is definitely something that will make a difference for you. So initially, when I went through my spiritual awakening experience, now we were talking yesterday about how all these emotions get heightened. So your sensitivities become heightened, your emotions become heightened. And when I went through that, I had such a deep desire to keep moving forward, like I always have. I've always been someone who likes to strive and to have personal growth and personal development. And healing's always been in my heart. I've always loved to heal myself. I've healed more than anyone I know. I've been doing it for like 9 years, and I've always loved it. So when this spiritual emergence began and that emotional triggering started happening, I decided that I was going to heal myself more deeply. So I'm an intuitive healer, and I've been doing intuitive healing and energy work for probably 9 or 10 years now. So for me, it was a natural inclination when a lot of emotional triggering was happening to address it with the healing. So basically, I spent a lot of my time, especially during the day, doing healing on myself, reflecting on my feelings, being in a kind of altered state, because when I'm doing that intuitive healing, I'm in a different kind of psychic space, tuning into myself, digging through past lives and feelings and tears and sometimes things that I didn't understand. So I was working on it all the time. And then nighttime would come, and nighttime I would either do some more healing on myself, because there was still more coming up, or go into a meditative state. And there I would connect with my guides and connect to that higher power and ask for guidance, ask for the way out of this mess, and ask to know what the next step was. And you might relate to this, because it became a space where I would rather be up there than down here. And it got to the point where I felt like I don't really connect with anyone here. All my friends are up there, and you know, it's a different type of love that I feel, and it's a different type of space, and I kind of just want to go home. And I think everyone hits that on the spiritual awakening journey at some point. You feel like, I don't really want to be here, I'd rather be up there. And that was definitely how I felt. But the strange thing was that, you know, I was doing all this healing during the day. I was doing the meditation, or astral travel, or whatever I wanted to do in the evenings, which sometimes spanned 2 hours or more. I was really into it at the time. And I couldn't understand why things were continuing to get worse. So I was doing all this healing, and it just seemed that the emotions were coming up stronger and faster and more ferociously, to the point where it was just like a free-for-all. It was like the floodgates had opened, and there was nothing I could do to slow down the speed with which that was coming up, or the intensity. And it throws you around like a rag doll. I had no idea why I was doing all this healing on myself, and it should have been getting better, but it was actually getting worse. I couldn't understand why that was happening. So it was a time that was completely out of control, and it was one time in my life where I really felt like all the resources I had failed me, because being an intuitive healer, I felt like I should know better. I felt like I must be missing something here, because I'm healing and something's not working right. So I was looking at myself that there must have been something wrong. And I tried everything. I tried crystals, I tried oils, I tried incense, but nothing really worked. Nothing made it any better. In fact, a lot of things I felt worse afterwards. Even things like, I remember once I tried everything else, I tried sage. Someone said, why don't you try saging the space? And you know, I got all the things to do it, and the big feather and all this cool stuff, and saged the room. And there was an energy and a feeling about it that I just couldn't handle. It was like connecting with some sort of entity, or I could sense the energy as if it was a soul. I could sense it, and it was like an imprint that stuck to me, and I couldn't get it off. And for about 4 days I had the windows open, and I was trying to get the smell out of everything and trying to clear everything. Hi Rebecca. And it just wouldn't leave me, the feeling wouldn't leave me, and I didn't realise that it was because I was so sensitive that I was picking up on something much deeper than what we usually would, because I can use sage now and I have no problems whatsoever, but I didn't realise that that's what was happening, and I didn't realise that these things would do nothing really to help me. I was in such a ungrounded state chronically that there was nothing I could do to actually bring me back down. So the emotional triggering had taken up the whole day, the spiritual experiences were taking up the whole night, and then what was happening was, not only was I getting more emotions coming up, my sensitivities were getting even stronger. The emotions were coming up thick and fast all the time, couldn't slow them down. Then what was happening was I was having spiritual experiences at inappropriate times. So I was heading on out and, you know, doing things during the day and, you know, having inappropriate conversations. So I remember one day I said, okay, I'll go for a massage and I'm going to chill out completely. I'm going to really relax. And I went for a massage, and while I was lying there having this nice relaxing massage, about 15 minutes in, I realised I was actually having a conversation in my head to one of my guides, and realised I'd been doing so for about 10 minutes without realising. And that was when I thought, okay, we're in a bit too deep here. This is actually invading and encroaching on my personal life and becoming something that is making me feel crazy. I felt really like I'd gone kind of mad. There was no space away from it, and it was all just such a big mess. And then I was also going to bed at night and seeing faces and hearing conversations and getting woken, feeling presences in my room, seeing symbols. It was terrifying actually, because it was not something I was used to. So like we're talking about these psychic senses opening up so fast and so quick and so powerfully, it was too much. It was actually too much for my cognitive mind to understand, and for me to manage to live a normal daily life. It was too invasive. So it was not really ideal for me, let's put it that way. So what I realise now on reflection is that I was unintentionally grounding myself. So unintentionally ungrounding myself, sorry. I didn't realise that energy healing is it supercharges your energy. So I was doing energy healing all day long, and it was supercharging my energy even more than what was already supercharged from naturally awakening. It was opening me up even more, even wider than I had been opened before. And that meant that more powerful emotion from deeper recesses of my soul was coming up to be healed at an even greater speed. So what I didn't realise was, when I was doing the energy healing, imagine it down your centre, it was opening me up even more than I already was. It was speeding up the kundalini, so that energy we were talking about that comes from the spine and rises right up to have your clear connection to source. It was speeding that up. So as that energy speeds up through all these points, it breaks through more blocks. And every time it breaks through a block, you're breaking up an old emotional issue and you're bringing it to the surface. So we're not talking like, let's work on inner child stuff from this lifetime. We're talking, let's deal with everything that's ever happened to you out of any of your lifetimes that you've ever lived. It's too much. It is too much. And it was, I mean, I can talk about it lighthearted now, but at the time it was absolutely terrifying. It was a really scary time. And when you don't have other people to talk to about it, you do start to question your sanity, and you wonder if there's something wrong with you because you're just so wide open. So I didn't realise that without proper grounding in place, all of that was going to spill up to the surface. So it was this sense of being so open that there was no structure to the experience. There was nothing to bring these things up one at a time. One thing I could have dealt with and looked at and said, okay, we'll heal that. Then there's another thing, I'll heal that and throw that away. But they just all came up at once, and it was just far too much. And I really don't want that to happen to you. And I know that from the emails that I'm getting and the messages that you guys are sending, that a lot of you are going through that emotional triggering right now. And I really want you to know, it doesn't have to be that way. It does not have to be that way, and it doesn't have to be that hard. You can still move through this in a gentle way, and you can still move through it in a way that blends with your normal daily life and that is manageable for you. So please don't feel that if it's been that way in the past, it's going to continue to be that way, because it won't. Okay, not especially if you really employ the things that we're covering in this 3-day course. It absolutely won't, so don't worry. But it's important that you understand that concept, that because I was doing energy healing, I was altering my psychic state, and I was really reflecting on myself all the time. I was more open, things were moving faster up through the system, and more issues were coming. So it became like a snowball effect that I couldn't get out of. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then what happened was, I actually got so incredibly ungrounded that my body went into fight or flight. And I was sweating, I was aching, I was in pain. My heart chakra was agony, absolute agony. And I was so close to leaving my body, I could feel it, that spirit crashed me back down. So I should say thanks, but it really wasn't much fun the way it happened. Spirit grounded me like that. So I went from being absolutely out of my body, I was shaking, out of my body, completely connected to source and having a great time spiritually, but so high that it was completely unsustainable for my physical body, and spirit saved me in a sense by dropping me back down really, really quickly. And I can see from the comments a few of you saying that you've had that too. It's the emotional triggering is really hard, so don't get yourself into that cycle of going round and round and round. And we're going to look at things that you can avoid to make sure that doesn't happen. So I hope that that story has helped you see some reflections of things that you could change, but we're going to go into more detail about it. So the moral of the story is, okay, there's 3 main things I want you to remember. The moral of my story is, A, don't do it, but there's 3 things that you need to avoid. The first thing is things that charge your energy. Anything that charges your energy, just don't do it. Don't do it for now when you're in that really sensitive, vulnerable state. Don't do things that stimulate your kundalini energy, that energy that rises up the centre, because that's going to make things worse, going to open you up further. And don't do things that alter your psychic or energetic state, okay? Those are the 3 rules. I'm going to go over them one more time just so that they're a wee bit easier to understand. Don't do things that charge your energy. Don't do things that stimulate your kundalini on purpose. And don't do things that alter your energetic or psychic state for the time being. Not forever, but particularly when you feel really ungrounded. And for those of you going through spiritual emergence, I would say don't touch it at all until your energy stabilise out. So those are the 3 rules, and to be honest, there will be some people watching this who actually can deal with crystals a little bit and deal with incense and deal with meditating. So for you, it's not such a big deal, okay? But as a general rule, because I experienced the extreme, and I know there was a purpose to experiencing the extreme, if you're already charged, which you naturally are in going through spiritual awakening, and if you're already widely opened, which you are because you're going through spiritual awakening, then doing things that open you and charge you further is going to make it worse. Rebecca, I can see you're saying it's Tai Chi safe to do. I personally, if you're in a really vulnerable or sensitive, emotional triggered state, I would avoid it for now. Not forever, but wait till a time when you feel quite grounded and that emotional triggering has slowed down, and then you can kind of test it out. So that's what's important here. Anything that I'm saying to you guys are things that you want to do. I'm not advocating that you never use them ever, but just don't use them for the purpose of grounding. And if you're going through spiritual emergence, or you're in a really vulnerable, sensitive, emotional state, I would avoid them completely. And don't worry, because we're going to go into some other things that you can safely do, just until those things level out. Once they level out, it's no problem. I use crystals, I use oils, I use incense, I was saging last week, so no problems. And yoga, personally I wouldn't advise it. Yoga generally stimulates the kundalini right up the centre. So a lot of people actually have a spiritual emergence triggered by yoga. A lot of people have had that through yoga, so yoga's a wonderful thing. So is Tai Chi, so are all of these things, but not for the purpose of grounding. So I would be very careful and quite cautious in the way that you use them. Just be kind of a careful if you're in that state. And I'll explain a wee bit more about how to move into those later. Okay, so let's take a deeper look into what to avoid for now, just for now, and why, so that you've got an understanding of why I'm saying come away from these things, because they will make the process worse if you're in the thick of it. It's not so bad if you have a chance to balance all these things out, but when you're in the thick of it, it's not a good idea, and it will make things worse. And I know, because it happened to me. So let's talk about it. So energy healing, whether you are giving energy healing, because I know a lot of you guys are healers, or receiving energy healing, any form of energy healing opens you up both emotionally and energetically. So energy healing obviously is working with the energy, but quite often a lot of these techniques, you're digging into emotions, you're reflecting on feelings, but the combination of both is going to trigger both of those things that spiritual awakening is already doing to you. You know, the opening of the psychic centres, the heightening of the emotional centres, they're already at a level that the average human struggles to maintain. So if you go into energy healing, you're probably going to make it worse. And if you're coming through the first 2 stages, which are the awakening stage where all these things open up, and the healing phase where the emotional triggering is happening, then you're probably best not really to go there until after. There are things that you can use, so don't worry, I'm going to cover that in this video as well. And I've got some things that you can use that I know are safe because I've used them personally, so I understand. So that'll be fine. The second thing we've got is spiritual practices. So spiritual practices really charge your energies, and a lot of them actually encourage that kundalini to rise up the spine. So like I was saying about yoga or other things, a lot of spiritual practices have that real charge to them because they're connecting you and you're already supercharged. So it tends to be too intense for the body to actually handle. And so that includes things like meditation, yoga, mediumship, intuitive training, purposely trying to instigate astral travel or altered states. And you need to be careful as well, because a lot of well-meaning practitioners or teachers will tell you that their method's safe, that it's fine, and they mean well, but if my general rule of thumb is if someone hasn't been through it, they probably don't understand how extremely sensitive our energies are, or how, you know, explosive that can be to our system. And it's interesting because a lot of these spiritual practices are supercharging, even though they feel calming to the body. So that can be a little bit misleading as well. So just be really, really careful, and take responsibility for your own health and well-being by, you know, maybe testing it out or doing some research on it and finding out before you go into it. Like I say, I'm not saying never go into it, I'm just saying not for the purpose of grounding. And if you're ungrounded, stay away. Give yourself a little bit of time to let your energies settle. Also, things that alter your energetic or psychic state. So, like I said before, be careful with the likes of incense, essential oils, crystals. They are amazing things. They're enjoyable things. I still enjoy them now. But for the purpose of grounding, even if they say they're for the purpose of grounding, because our energies are so blasted wide open, they're extremely charging and extremely opening. And you might also find, like I was talking about with sage, because you're so sensitive and you're able to read energy so easily in this heightened state, some things can have a bit of an imprint about them. They can have that funny feeling. So you might use an oil or sage like I did, or incense or something, and you have this strange feeling and energy around you that you can't get off and you can't get out of your system. And it's just because you're so sensitive that you're really getting a real imprint of what that energy is, but it can be hard to clear it. So if you found that happened before, or you've noticed that in certain situations, I would avoid these things until you're steady and grounded, and then you can just test them gently and see how you feel. And you can always just use them sparingly to see how that's working out for your system, because you need to put your system first and you need to put yourself first, because this is a powerfully transformational journey, and you know, this is what a lot of the learning is. And we're going to be covering that one. Actually, that's just coming up, so good choice on that. Let's see what else. Okay, yeah. So now we're going into things that you can safely use. So I'm sorry if that was a little bit heavy, the first part, but I feel it's so important to make sure people really understand the severity of what can happen if you're using things that open you even further when you're already in, you know, a kind of fragile state and a spiritually ungrounded state. Nothing's ever irreversible, but you just really won't feel good. And I know that I kind of swirled around in that state for probably about 2 years. And it wasn't until Spirit snapped me back down that I actually realised that I was ungrounded. It sounds crazy, but I didn't actually realise. It happened so gradually that I'd gone up and healed more and gone into visions more and everything, that I didn't realise how high I'd become. And when I snapped back down, I had the shock of my life. So just be really self-aware as much as you can in this challenging process of how your body feels and how you feel, and how present you feel. Okay, so my first recommendation is actually prevention rather than cure. So you know, sometimes a few days without the things that supercharge you is actually more grounding than traditional methods. And you might find that if you try a few of the methods and they don't work, because for some of us they don't, and I just want to clarify that, for some of us grounding just will be so challenging, you won't find a traditional method that will work. Don't worry, I have something that will work for you, because it happened to me. But if you find that a few of the methods don't work, take a few days off of the things that I've asked you to avoid, and you'll probably find that that helps, because there's no grounding method that I've found that's actually more effective. There's no grounding method that I've found that can ground you as quickly or as deeply as an abstinence from things that charge you, okay? Because you're already in a really delicate state. So I would say, if you're trying things and nothing else works, just take some time off for the things that charge you. So, you know, spiritual practices, energy healing, prayer, meditation, whatever it is, crystals, incense, just get them out of your space for a little while and see if you feel better. It's different for everyone, and it's a process of elimination, and you need to kind of practice that to really understand what's right for you. Let's just see. I'm seeing Rashawn's comment saying she was using oils, crystals, incense before her system completely crashed out and her breakdown began. So that's really interesting to know, and I can relate, because we don't realise, and the information that is all over the internet and in books is always ground yourself, you know, ground yourself with incense, ground yourself with crystals, ground yourself with oils. And I found very quickly and terrifyingly that I was using these things and actually feeling more ungrounded, and it was quite frightening. So make sure that you're stepping away from the things that make you ungrounded, and that would be enough. But if you're still ungrounded, you can move into some things that will. So let's talk about those. The first thing is, make sure that you're eating regularly. Food is a massive contributor to grounding you because it's really dense in energy. So it helps us balance out that influx of light that's coming into our bodies. Someone's got a throat issue, because this happened yesterday and I got a little squeak in my throat. So someone needs to deal with their throat stuff. So when the light quotient gets too high, we actually need to purposely add some density to be able to even that out. So it's a bit like I was talking yesterday about how you have all this spiritual connectedness up top, and if you don't ground it, you start to kind of keel over. Well, making that physical density is the thing that balances that out, that keeps that structure, so that you're equal and balanced on both sides, the physical and the spiritual. And food is the thing that is just going to help, because we're getting charged so intensely that you kind of need to soak that energy up, and food will do that for you. So particularly meat and root vegetables, and I know some of you might cringe at the thought of meat because a lot of you will be vegan or vegetarian. It depends how ungrounded you feel. Sometimes if it's an emergency, drastic times calls for drastic measures, but when I feel really ungrounded, I usually cook a massive pot of really hearty, like, root vegetable soup. So carrots, potatoes, turnips, herbs, because they're really grounding too. And that helps because you've got a kind of double whammy. You've got the double effect of the food being really dense, and you've got earthly kind of rooted energy from vegetables that have grown in the soil. So they have an amazing grounded energy about them, and it was one of the only things that I found actually helped me, because I was ingesting it and it was in my system, so that can help. Rebecca's saying that sitting under trees helps. That can, yeah. Trees have a really nice energy that can be grounding. But the interesting thing for me is I live in an extremely rural part of Scotland. So where I live is literally right in the middle of the forest, and I was still ungrounded. So that gives you an idea of just how far away I'd floated. It's a miracle I came back, actually. So, but you need to find out what works for you. Everybody's different. The next thing is tea tree oil. So, like I said before, oils are off the table for now, okay? Unless you have a really deep understanding of essential oils and you know exactly which ones to avoid. Tea tree oil is safe even if you're going through spiritual emergence. And I know that because I used it when I was going through spiritual emergence. And it was the only oil that didn't have a resonance, a kind of icky energy that stayed with me. And it was the only oil that didn't unground me further. So it's really deeply, deeply grounding, and because it's derived from a plant, that connection to the soil and Mother Earth is going to pull your roots to the ground really quite quickly. So it's great if you need something for a quick fix. I'll always keep some in my bag just in case I don't feel too good. And now all my friends, who I refer to as muggles, because they're not really all that spiritual, my friends are like, can I have some tea tree oil? You know, when we're going through our day, they're getting into it. So it does really, really help. It's also beneficial because if you're feeling overwhelmed, it'll cleanse your energy as well, which is hard for us because we get overwhelmed when we get choked up with everyone else's stuff. And we pick up energy from the land and energy from your space and energy from everything around. So tea tree oil is really good, and it's pretty instant. So I've got some here, I'll show you. I can see Anne's saying walking barefoot on the ground, that can really help. But like I say, it's personal. So for me, it just didn't work. I was a different case, I don't know. Nothing like that worked, and especially living in a rural area, I was thinking, you know, people kept saying, go and walk in nature, and I thought, I'm living in it. But everybody's different, so you just have to do your best to try things and see how you personally feel. It's a really personal journey. So tea tree oil, so I've got a little bottle here, and actually the good thing about tea tree oil is it's really cheap to buy. So you can get it in things like, you'll get it in like pharmacies, drugstores, you might even get it in bargain stores at their cosmetics part, you know, where they've got all the things for first aid and things like that. Because a lot of people use it for their skin, but I literally just put loads in my hand. I get a bit carried away, use quite a lot. Rub it in my hands, breathe it in, which is nice, it's nice and clean. Rub it through my aura, and I just have a little shake when I get down so that I'm clearing off any old energy. And it goes into your bloodstream as well, so it's soaking into your whole body and bringing that density. Tea tree oil, Rebecca, it's just an essential oil, so you can get them all different types. You can get different types of oil for everything, but tea tree oil is really safe, and the only other one I've found that's quite good is grapefruit oil. It can be quite cleansing. Right, Erin, let's see. So Erin's asking, how do you know if you're ungrounded or if it's other people's energy that's causing the spacey feeling? Well, what I would say is usually if you have that spacey feeling, it's a sign that you personally are ungrounded. So the difference would be if you're picking up on other people's stuff. So if you're feeling aches, pains, health conditions, that's usually an indication that your empathic abilities are a bit too high. Now, that is a part of your spiritual awakening anyway, but if you're ungrounded, it can be out of control. So, for example, when we were doing this video, I started to get a little croak in my throat, and I was saying, someone's got a croak in their throat, but the minute I've picked up on that, it's gone. So my system's just alerting me to the fact that I'm in the vicinity of that and someone needs healing. So it's like, okay, you've got the message, that's enough. Whereas if you're really ungrounded, when you pick up someone else's stuff, it just doesn't leave. So I remember during my awakening, I spoke to a woman with pleurisy. Oh, it was awful. It was awful. And the poor soul was really unwell. And that's all in the lungs. It's a really old condition. It's all in the lungs, extremely painful. And I was a hairdresser at the time. I did her hair. And she left. And for about 2 days, I had this terrible pain in my lungs. So what should have happened there was that I picked up on her sensations, got the message, and then that was it. It was done. The message was gotten, but because I was ungrounded, it stayed with me. So ungrounded is really a symptom of, like Rebecca says, feeling dizzy, feeling spacey, but actually any of the challenges you've got in spiritual awakening, almost all of them are a result of being ungrounded in some way. So ground yourself and then see what you're working with, and then you'll get a better understanding of when you're ungrounded, what it looks like, because it is a little bit different for everybody. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so we've got tea tree oil. The next one would be connection. Okay, so connection, it's really all about keeping a steady grip on reality and managing to still maintain a normal life, because it's not easy and it's extremely challenging when you feel that you're in the eye of the storm with this spiritual awakening. So that's where people come in, because it's really beneficial for you to spend time with people who are not going through a spiritual awakening. it's almost like their stability and structure, the energy that they're living in, you can actually tune into that and almost anchor yourself here through the energy of others. And that's like the support that's here. It can be really useful, but the challenge is you need to get out and talk to people. You need to make a connection with someone. So whether it's spending time with family, spend time with someone you feel safe with, you don't have to tell them all your business, but it's nice to spend time with someone. And it's also important that you focus your energies in the present moment. So really, really important that you're present, that you're here, because that's what grounded is all about, is really being here. And it also gives you a chance to escape your head for a while. So much like I got completely consumed with, I've got to keep healing, I've got to keep feeling, I've got to keep dealing with all this stuff, it made me more ungrounded. It made me feel worse. So if you're feeling crap as part of your awakening, you're ungrounded. When you're grounded, it doesn't feel as hard as that. It's much, much easier, so know that. But spend time with people and engage in some sort of an activity that's going to take your mind off of the challenge that you're facing at the moment. A little bit like distraction. So you need to have fun, you need to do something that is different from the space that you're sitting in all the time, so that you're getting a break from it, because it's not sustainable to the human body to deal with this on and on and on. I know some people, I've had messages from people who have been going through this for 20 years. It's too long, it's not sustainable, and your life experience doesn't have to be like that. So use the resources that are available. If people are going to be that anchor for you, then use that anchor and appreciate the fact that they are in structure and stability, and you can use them to connect. Use that energy. And it's the same as, like I said before, it's prevention rather than cure. So just know that and be aware of that. Okay, let's have a look and see what else people are saying. I can see someone saying, Rebecca, oh, it was your throat. Yeah, you need to get that dealt with. I don't know if you're going to actually be in the 7-day course, but there's someone in the 7-day course that when I recorded the video, there was loads of throat issues going on. So that's interesting. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, family can be a tough one when you're coming through this, because it's really hard to tell people what's going on. Depends what kind of family you've grown up in. Some people are coming through religious families and, you know, different circumstances where it's not easy to share it. I think even if you have a mega supportive family, it's not that easy to share it. It can be really hard. But know that you've got your adopted family here, which is me and all the other people in the group. Know that you're not alone. So if you need someone to talk to, come into the group and share your experience and tell us a little bit about how you're feeling, because you'll probably find that someone else is relieved to find that they're going through the same thing. And that unity is the thing that's going to give us the strength to move right through this, and to know that you've got people by your side as you're moving through. You weren't sent here alone. Definitely not. Okay, the last thing I want to cover that is safe to use for grounding. Now this is what I was talking about, that you can't really do energy healing if you're extremely ungrounded, but there is another alternative. So the alternative would be downloads. So if you haven't done the free lesson, which I'm going to get to, that's part of the new course, downloads are much like we can put a program into a computer to make the computer run better. We can put a download into your energy to teach it how to run better and to support you through the awakening process. So this is where we bring in energies that are going to teach your system how to be grounded throughout the awakening process, how much to calm your sensitivities, you know, how to tone down your empathic abilities, how to heal your broken soul. These are all important things that support you on the other side. So we're doing the physical grounding here. This course, this 3-day course, is about learning to ground yourself physically, and that's really important. But this 7-day course, Grounded Awakenings, is dealing with where the problem starts, and the problem starts with your energy. The energy is too explosive, it's too open, it's too intense, and it's those energetic downloads that are the energy healing that are going to just adjust that and make those changes. Now that you can safely do, and I know because I used it right throughout, particularly after I was grounded, I used it right throughout and I stayed grounded. So you can use that. But it's really important that you make use of this free lesson while it's there. So the course is a 7-day course dealing with all these different aspects: overwhelm, burnout, anxiety, understanding the journey, healing the broken soul and the broken heart, clearing entities and waywards. There's loads of cool stuff that we're doing, so you can have a look at that on the page. But the first lesson is free until Sunday, so you can make use of that. So you'll get the text lesson, which is everything that we've covered here, all the grounding material that you need. So don't fret if you haven't taken all of it in. It's okay, it'll come. You can read that there. And there's also the video, which is basically essentially an energy healing session with me, where I am downloading into you, and you can receive the energetic blueprint for a smoother awakening. It's going to make it easier, and it's going to teach your energy and your body how to kind of manage this challenging process. So the first part to that, the first lesson, is available until Sunday, only until Sunday, because the course starts on Monday morning. So you can go in, you don't need to sign up, you don't need complicated forms, nothing like that. You literally just hit preview, and you can get all that text lesson and the energetic downloads, which are really important. I would really advise you to make use of them while they're here, because they will actually make a change to your awakening, and they are really the only thing that's going to make a massive impact, because we're dealing with the physical, but if we don't deal with the spiritual and the energy, we're not going to make much difference. You need the two of those to bridge together and become one, so that you're centered and you're calm and your awakening is smooth and easier. So I'll put a link where you can go and get that free lesson. It's only about 10 minutes long, and those energies are changed immediately, so make use of it while it's available. And also, someone asked me about the course. The course is available for pre-order, so it doesn't start until Monday, but there's a pre-order discount just now, which is only available till tomorrow night. So if you want to sign up to the course, have a look first and see if it feels right for you, if it resonates. You guys have basically designed it and helped me to kind of adjust it to every single challenge in spiritual awakening. It should smooth all of that out for you and help you to move along. Have a look, and you can get that free preview lesson, so I'll put the link for you. And let's see, I'm going to just see if there's a couple of questions there. So, okay, let's see. Dedum, is that the right way to say it? Dedum? Extreme memory loss, short and long term. It's very hard. I also lost all my knowledge and faith in spirituality. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Can I comfort you there? The exact same thing happened to me. So like I was saying about going up and up and up, now I didn't lose my memory, but it's possible that because your body's going through remembering a lot of things on a really deep level, it's like a form of amnesia. It's like, we'll not really deal with that, we're just going to block everything out. So you'll probably find that grounding is the thing that actually helps your memory to balance out, because there's a sense of, oh, I can feel it right along the front there, you're blocking it. There's a lot of block. It's like your soul doesn't really want to know, doesn't want to remember, and a lot of repressed stuff. Now that will heal and it will be okay, but just focus on being grounded every day. Use the things in this course and use the free lesson, because those energetic downloads might just help you just to tip the corner just a little bit. But it's important that you know, when I came through my awakening, I lost all my faith, because when I got up so high and I felt that I was so connected spiritually, and I was with my soul family and soul counterparts and guides, and I crashed, it was like overnight I lost my intuition completely gone. Couldn't access my guides, couldn't connect to anyone, couldn't connect to source, couldn't do any energy healing. That was a rough time. That was not fun, and I became really bitter. I remember saying to my mum, I said, I hate my guides, you know. I was in tears, and she said, that's not true. And I said, no, I do. They've left me, they've carried me up as high as I could go, and they've dropped me. And I really believed that at the time, and now I can see that there was purpose to what happened, and there's a reason why you'll lose that spirituality and that link and your faith, because you need a little break, and you need to reassess, and you need to see that there is a structure to the experience. Even though it doesn't look like it and you're full of doubt just now, there is a structure, and you are being held, and you are moving along that. So please don't feel that the path is lost, because it's not. And if you focus on grounding as much as you can for now, you'll find that the path starts to smooth out and things start to become clear. but focus on grounding and use the lesson. The Grounded Awakenings course would actually be perfect for you because we're working on a deeper level and your soul would be able to clear a lot of old pain and trauma. There's a lot of trauma release in that, so that might be something you want to look at, but know that you're not alone. I'm sending lots of love to you and you'll be okay. Everything will be okay. Right, let's see what else we've got. So Anne is saying she had a huge crash today. So Anne's had chronic fatigue for a number of years. She suspects that it was a download last night. Don't know what that means. Do you mean it was an energetic download, like the energy healing? You won't get a negative effect from any of the downloads, mainly because your soul is still in charge of what comes in and what doesn't. So your soul, as these downloads are happening, your soul's still got the discernment to say, yes, we need that. No, I don't want that. And it can make the choices. But also throughout the course, I'm connecting intuitively to the group and to creators. So it's all channeled guidance. There shouldn't be any negative side effects. But it could be that there's some stuff coming up for you. So I know that you went for the course and you're enrolled now. So it could be that you've got some stuff coming up that's getting ready to deal with, and sometimes your soul gets a little bit tired right before that happens. So focus on grounding and be really gentle with yourself, and it should be better. Let's see, Erin, no problem. Let's see, I can't actually see that whole, I can't see your whole comment. I don't know why I can't see that. I'm really sorry, I can't see the end of the comment, but what I'll do is I'll comment at the end and have a look through it because I think it's the device that I'm using. Let's see, Rebecca. Yeah, the 7-day course, at the moment it's up for pre-order pricing, so it's available for, it's $122, which is about £94. So that's the equivalent of 7 energy healing sessions, and there's a video at the end which guides you up to spiritual connection safely and then guides you back down so that you're grounded afterwards, so that you can still do all these spiritual things without becoming completely ungrounded. That's really important, and to make sure that you're doing it from the right space, a nice safe space. So yeah, it's up for £94 just now, $122. That's the pre-order. Remember, it doesn't start till Monday, but as of tomorrow night it goes back to normal pricing, which is higher than that, and then the doors close on Sunday because I'll be having a sleep and getting ready for Monday morning to get all these things up. Let's see, good. So if anyone has any more questions, pop them in the box. I'm happy to answer them just now. I'll take a little minute or two. And apart from that, I think we've covered everything. And just while I'm waiting to see if anything else comes up, tomorrow, don't forget to join us tomorrow because that's the final class. So there's going to be really useful things in that class too. And tomorrow's when we're really going to be addressing when grounding doesn't work and why. Because like I said, for some of us who are really in that extreme state, particularly in spiritual emergence, grounding probably won't work. The physical stuff won't work because it's all happening on this spiritual level, and that's really what the course is all about, is making sure that you've got the blueprints in place on the spiritual level to make changes, because sometimes the physical grounding just doesn't really want to work until I've had all these changes in place. So tomorrow, that's what we'll be talking about, when it doesn't work and what to do when it doesn't work, and it should be good. So thanks so much for joining us. Hi Steve, thank you, I really appreciate those kind words, thank you. And I'll pop all the information that you need in the comments box, and thank you very much for being here. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Thanks.